Hey everyone, welcome to my Distance Lost Echoes beginner speedrunning tutorial. In this video, I'll be showing you the basic route for every level in the Lost Echoes campaign, and explaining the movement and tricks done throughout the run. As with any speedrun, you should get familiar with the basic controls and mechanics of the game first before trying this. In particular, since the Lost Echoes campaign disables the car's wings, you'll have to rely entirely on grip flight in order to perform speedrun strats, which can be pretty tricky if you're a beginner, so you should try to get at least halfway decent at that first, before you attempt this run. Another runner, Brianak, has made a pretty good guide for grip flight and air control in general if you want to check that out, so I'll link that in the description. It will go into more detail than I have the room for here. In this video, I will be using a lot of slow motion and stopping in order to explain things in more detail than I otherwise would be able to. I may also throw in a few more additional intermediate level strats at the end just for the heck of it, but I wouldn't recommend trying those to start with. They are a little more technical than what I'll be recommending you use first. There will be timestamps in the video description if you want to skip over to a particular level, but I've wasted enough time talking here already, so without further ado, let's get started. The first thing to mention with this run is that the timing begins the moment you press the button to start the long ago into a cutscene map, hold Enter or the A button to skip the cutscene, and after doing so, you'll begin the first level, Forgotten Utopia. After starting the level, just drive straight to begin with. Just before the track begins to slope down, jump off and grip fly over the top of the building in front of you. Once landing on there, make a sharp left turn and then grip fly back over to the main track. Make sure you rotate in the same direction both times, and this will ensure that the game will register a roll, giving you the necessary cooldown you need to complete this skip. Once you return to the main track, follow it to this checkpoint, and then jump into the building on your right, doing a roll while doing so for additional cooldown. Land on both of the walls following that to get some cooldown for the next strat, where you grip fly over to this next wall. Do one roll here to give yourself more cooldown for the next strat too. Fly over to this building just ahead. Land on these walls on the left, gripping down after the first one to land and grab some wall ride cooldown. Simply return to the track ahead after this. Then jump and grip fly over the gap to get back to the main road. Follow the track and take these jumps, making sure you grip down quickly after each of them to maintain your speed as much as you can. After the third jump here, I tilt the car nose up a little bit. This helps gain some extra speed, and I'll do that a lot throughout this run, but this isn't necessary, just a small time save. After the jumps, drive on the right of this ramp, grip fly over onto the track, and then on the left of the next ramp, grip fly into the side of the end zone. That's the Forgotten Utopia beginner route, and with that, we're now ready to move on to a deeper void. Start off by driving straight as normal. Once you reach this split, jump onto the high road in front of you. Drive off to the right side of the ramp, using the jump pad to give yourself a boost to reach the top of this purple building. After landing, jump roll onto the light blue building, and then fly up to the other building just ahead. After this, drop back down onto this building, and then return to the main track ahead. Be careful to avoid this pop-up blocker in the middle of the road here. This one can definitely blindside you if you're not expecting it. Drop down these few gaps, and head between these pop-up blockers into this hidden side path. Carefully avoid the other blockers within this path, and then jump off to the left just before the checkpoint, landing on the walls here. Get some wall ride cooldown on these walls, and fly back up to the track above you. After landing, jump off the barriers, but don't follow the track ahead, instead hold grip and start flying to this purple building to the left. From there, landing on the large blue building below, and then continue to the following building on the right just ahead. Just be careful of these giant fans, they can really ruin your day if you're not careful. From here, just land back on the road, complete these last few transfers, and finish the level. Now let's move on to Eye of the Storm, which is probably one of the hardest maps in the beginner route, so hold tight. Start off by taking these 3 jumps, tilting up and gripping on the third if you want. At this transfer, hold grip after the jump, then rotate and land on this building here. Then turn to the left and fly up to the building ahead of you. Rotating the car slightly to the left when flying up can help nudge you towards where you need to go. Just make sure to level out afterwards so you don't go flying away from your intended target. Then repeat that again towards the next building just ahead, and after landing on that, grip fly back down to this purple building in front of you. Jump onto this bright purple wall on the side, grip, tilt your nose down, and then rotate the car upside down to grip fly down to this roof here. Then continue grip flying down to this other building a bit to the left, doing a roll here for cooldown. Once you land on this dark building just ahead, you're gonna need to do a really quick jump roll for cooldown. What you should do here is hold grip as you jump, release grip while doing the roll, and then quickly start holding grip again after you're done. This reduces your jump height a little and makes it way easier to fit in that roll. Grip fly over to the blue building ahead of you, making sure to do a roll to empty your heat meter for this long flight right here. Start slowly tilting up to slow yourself down to make landing on this building easier, and also do a roll so you don't overheat. Turn left once you land to start climbing up the building, then turn right to land in this other pink building just above it. From there, just drive off the building and grip fly back down to the track, dodging the last few obstacles and heading straight to the end zone. This is probably the most difficult and least safe route in the beginner's route, since there's pretty much no checkpoints using the strat, so if you die you are going to lose a lot of time. But with practice, you should be able to get this fairly consistently. But in any case, let's move on to the Sentinel still watches. Begin by dropping down this gap and taking this first 180 transfer. After the second 180, on this jump you don't touch the thruster controls as the car is jumping, just hold steady and grip down above the next track. On the following transfer, tap your nose down slightly before rolling to smooth out your landing on the ceiling here, then take the next transfer to get to this steep decline. Stay a bit on the right to avoid the saw here, and then hold back thrusters for a short moment at this drop to smooth out your landing. Then continue to follow the track as normal. After these 3 180s, jump to the left wall, then hold grip, rotating to land on the track below. Be careful not to hit the pop-up blocker in the center of the road here, just stay to the sides in order to avoid it. Take 2 more 180s on the track, then really quickly turn right and jump, wait a bit, and then start rolling to avoid hitting the railing, and land on this building. Then turn right off the building to drop off onto this ledge here, getting cooldown for the next flight. Grip flying over from this ledge, over to the large platform ahead of you, doing a roll for cooldown. After landing, you usually don't need to do another roll, but you may want to do one anyway just for additional safety. From here, just grip fly back down onto the track below through this gate. Take the blue path from the left here. At this jump, do a roll to give yourself more cooldown for the next skip. By going to the left at this ramp and flying off the track, you can avoid a cutscene trigger that wastes a ton of time if you hit it. Land back on the road and head through this spike section. Avoid the saws in this tunnel and take these last jumps. Once you get to these platforms, instead of taking them, jump off here and grip fly to this one further away instead. This isn't necessary, but it is a little bit faster. Then just drop off these remaining gaps and grip fly into the end zone. There's a lot of tricky jumps in this level, but as always, just practice them and you should be able to get them soon enough. Let's move on to the next level, Shadow of the Beast. Turn right at the start to avoid this big spike here. In this field just ahead, we have our introduction to the good old RNG spikes. A bunch of spikes will land in the area in front of you, and you have to pay attention to where they land in order to avoid them. The position of the spikes are random. The general area of where they land is somewhat influenced by your position, but the exact locations within those regions is randomized. Just keep an eye out for the red landing markers on the ground and go wherever you can see an opening. Just before the spikes, do a roll to ensure that you don't overheat before the next checkpoint, then dodge the spikes. The RNG usually isn't too much of an issue, but just keep an eye out in case it gets ugly. Following this, drive straight through this loop and jump at the gap here to skip over it. Jump over the rows and dodge the lasers and spikes here, and then drive between these blockers. Hold grip here to duck under these rollers, and then take the 180 ahead of you. After this jump, tilt up and grip to gain extra speed, and then take one of these transfers. I prefer going right, but it doesn't really matter. Take these 2 jumps and follow the track as normal from here, completing the transfers and dodging these saws. Once you get to these 3 wall-to-wall transfers here, don't take all of them, but instead jump off, rotate belly up, and grip fly from the first to the 3rd road here instead, then jump from that wall to the ceiling ahead. Take the 2 jumps and drop onto this ledge, tilting up and gripping. Take this next transfer and avoid these saws. Then toad up and grip back down onto the road through this laser grid here, and continue through the next transfer and turn. Be careful when driving in the moving walls here, the physics on them can be a little wonky in ways that are hard to predict. Once you get past those, just continue taking the track, dodging the obstacles in front of you. After this last big jump here, we have another cutscene skip we need to do. Just before the checkpoint here, jump on over to the red building on the left, and then fly back to the track ahead of you to avoid hitting the trigger, avoiding a really slow cutscene, and just going straight to the end of the level. After this, simply just dodge these last obstacles, and then complete the level, moving on to Pulse of a Violent Heart. The route for Pulse is pretty simple. First, just follow this ramp onto the ceiling and continue to follow the track for now. Once you're about halfway along this wall, jump off and grip back down onto it to get some cooldown, and then grip fly up to the next track. It's a little faster than just taking the road normally. This isn't really necessary, but I would recommend doing it anyways, it's not really that hard. Just take the road if you're not consistent with it. Continue driving straight through this road, trigger the cutscene area, and then simply proceed to dodge the spikes and lasers within the cutscene. Once the cutscene is over, continue to follow the track to this transfer here. Also, just before we continue here, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, so I figured this would be a good place to dump this. There is in fact a way to skip this cutscene, just like the ones in Sentinel and Beast. There is a few different ways to do this, but the easiest and most consistent is some variation of the path I'm showing on screen right now. I want to say this saves around 6 to 8 seconds depending on how well it's performed, but it's both the smallest and hardest cutscene skip in the run, so I wouldn't recommend trying this until we've got a personal best of around 40 minutes and 30 seconds or so already. If you think you're good enough to give it a go though, be my guest. Anyway, regardless of how you get through this area, take the transfer and then continue down the long straightaway here. Take the jump and transfer here and then just head down this hole. Not much else to do here for now, just a really long straightaway. You can probably honk or something to pass the time, but here I just don't do anything, because, yeah. Take this transfer at the bottom, and then head into the ending area. Take one of the side walls here. Once again, I take the right, but I don't think it really matters which one you use. There's only really one more strat you can do, and that's near the end here, where you just grip fly off of this ramp instead of taking the road. Just make sure you roll so you get enough cooldown to make it to the end. In any case, now we move on to It Was Supposed to Be Perfect. The perfect beginner route is also pretty basic. Just start by taking this transfer, follow the track down here, and take this floor-to-wall jump. Jump over this barrier, take the next transfer, and then drop down this gap once you reach it. These laser grid walls here move back and forth, but fairly slowly, so there shouldn't be too much of an issue. After getting through them, take the next few jumps. After this wall to floor, you have a lot of speed, so do a tight turn with your thrusters here to ensure you don't crash into anything. Just avoid the lasers in the corridor here. Once you reach these jumps, jump on over them, and on the big jump, tilt up and grip to gain extra speed here. Go around this curve here. Jump over these two barriers and take the road on the right. On this transfer right here, I instead choose the grip fly over the road for a little bit more speed. After this, jump these barriers while avoiding the lasers and continue following the track upwards. On this other wall transfer, I again grip fly over it instead, but you can of course just take the road if you want to be safe. Coming into the waffler wall here, just stay off to the highlighted areas to avoid being waffled. Take the next transfer, then grip down to avoid these rollers and take the ramp to the next road. Then grip fly off the ceiling and onto the wall to your right to save just a little bit of extra time. Jump between the roads here to continue through this room. On these two wafflers, drive into one and then the other to avoid being waffled. Once again, this turn is pretty tight, so thruster turn here to make sure that you can avoid the pop-up blockers successfully. Take the next two jumps to the second laser wall room, avoiding the pop-ups as you go. Grip under these rollers and get past these lasers. If you get caught, the checkpoint's right in front of you, so it isn't a huge deal. Now you just have to avoid the second set of laser walls here. Note that the movement of these walls is on a cycle, so the positions may be slightly different depending on how fast or slow you get to them. Finally, just get over these two jump barriers, take the ramp, dodge the rollers, and then drive down this straight into the finish. Now we move on to the final map of the run, Echoes. Begin by just driving straight forward up until the point where the Echo engine transports you into the first phase of the fight, so to speak. In this section, continue just driving straight, dropping off the gap and over the roller, hitting the diamond gate at the end to go over to the next part of the map. In this section here, we have our second and final instance of the spikes in this run. Just like last time, pay attention to the landing markers and go wherever you can see an opening, though they can be a little hard to see given the color scheme of the area. Don't be afraid to release boosts if things start to look ugly. In the next section, there is a skip you can do here. After this ramp, transition to a grip fly on the left and drop down onto the purple road through this building here, and then avoid the pain train as you fly back up to hit the next diamond gate. After being warped into the Forgotten Utopia section, quickly turn to the right and start grip flying round the side of the gate just ahead, and then fly up to the high road ahead. Grip fly back down onto the main road and hit the next gate. Tilt up and grip after hitting it so you get some extra speed, and then slowly tilt back down to smooth out your landing to avoid losing that speed. Then just continue to drive straight towards the next gate. After hitting that gate, continue driving straight to smash the final gate, and then watch the ending cutscene. The run ends once the loading screen back to the main menu appears after the cutscene is over. But with that, this concludes my Lost Echoes beginner route tutorial. With a little practice, the strats that I show off in this video will be able to get your time below 15 minutes in-game time. In the description, I have linked a run of the strats shown in this video that clocks in at 40 minutes and 32 seconds, which I think is about the upper limit for what you should expect to get with these strats. If I happen to have forgotten anything, or if you have any other advice, feel free to drop that down in the comments below, since I'm only one person after all, I might have missed something. Once you've gotten comfortable with these basic strats, you can try implementing even harder routes found in either other runs, or in the potential advanced route tutorials if someone ever makes any. You can also come to our speedrunning channel in the official Distance Discord, which I'll also link to in the description. All of the top runners hang out in there, so you'll be able to get some advice there too. I hope this video helped you, and thanks for watching.